Welcome everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you for joining me. If you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do me a favor and click the button and help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And as an added bonus, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music. Just like this, we're going to talk about the new Bon Jovi album, but we're going to do it a little different this time. There is a full review of this standard edition of the album on my channel. You can check the link below from this video, or you can of course just check out my channel. It's on there. But for this discussion, we are going to focus on the original album and its track listing as compared to the final version, which is this one that just came out. So the new Bon Jovi album 2020, which just came out on October 2nd, was originally due to come out on May 15th in a completely different running order with two different tracks on it. But when the pandemic hit, the original album was postponed indefinitely. And then during the lockdown, it gave John plenty of time to rethink the tone and content of the album. And what was finally released was a different version than what it started out as. And so both versions of this album ultimately have 10 tracks on it. But when John wrote two new songs during the lockdown, the tracks Do What You Can, which is a song about the early events of the pandemic and as it unfolded, and then American Reckoning, which chronicles the murder of George Floyd and the social unrest that followed. So those two tracks, when he wrote those tracks, he opted to drop two of the songs from the original version in order to make room for these two new songs. This in turn caused a shuffle in the song list and the running order of the album, and the original song list and running order was as follows. It kicked off with Beautiful Drug instead of the way it kicks off right now, which is with Limitless. So we kick off with Beautiful Drug, and then we go into Unbroken, which is actually the last song on their standard edition of the album. It's followed, of course, by Limitless, then Love Can, which was one of the dropped songs, and it's a love song on here, followed by Brothers in Arms, which is a really great straight-ahead rockin' tune that deserves a lot of attention here, followed by Story of Love, Lower the Flag, Let It Rain, and then Shine. That's the other dropped song on here, and it's another love song, and it closes with Blood in the Water. So as you can see, it's a quite different running order of songs than what we ended up with. And one of those dropped songs, the song Love Can, could have actually worked on the current version of the album. The message that love can fix anything, I think would have supported the overall message of the current album. The placement of the song Brothers in Arms, the one that I was talking about that was a really straight ahead song on here, I think moving it higher in the running order was a really good move. It's a really good straight ahead rocker like I'll Sleep When I'm Dead from 1993's Keep the Faith. And it just adds a different feel to the album hearing it sooner in the running order. The one that doesn't work for me in the placement is the second song on the album, which is Unbroken. This one here is just too slow and dour, and I think it appears far too soon in the album to have that sort of effect on the listener. Works much better as the last song the way that it is on the standard edition or the current version of the album. No, but what would have been great here is that on this original version is had they actually kicked it off as they did with Beautiful Drug, but then the second track had Limitless. So a real 1-2 punch with the two strongest rockers on the album. You know, it's been a really long time since Bon Jovi has done that, opened an album with 1, 2, or 3 really straight ahead rockers. There's too many times now where the second track is a slow song, or even the opening track is. So this would have been something that could have been a real game changer for them had they done that. The other drop song on here, Shine, I think works towards the end of the album really well on this alternate version, but I don't think it would have worked at all on the current version of the album. The song is a little too slow and orchestrated, I think, to fit properly. Now, I really like the original album, the way that it flows. I actually think it's more of a typical sounding Bon Jovi album than the current way that the album is done. But what I would have really missed is the song Do What You Can. That's one of the newer tracks and would not have been on the original version of this. And for me, that's the biggest sounding hit song on the album. But by adding the two new songs on the album, it really does change the feel and the overall lyrical content of the album itself. I will say that what John has said that he was trying to achieve on this album as far as the theme goes, I do think this current version of the album achieves it. However, I think the original version of the album actually would have done better. I think it sounds more like a standard Bon Jovi album. I think the fans probably would have greeted it far better, with more open arms on it. And the sort of political sense of what the current version of the album is doesn't really hit you over the head quite as hard on the original version of the album as it does on the current one. And so, but I'm really glad in the end, though, that he stuck to his guns and he released it the way that it is, because if nothing else, look at the way that we're debating this album. When in recent memory have we talked this much about a Bon Jovi album? And whether good, whether bad, either way, debating on this thing, I think is a lot of fun. Any publicity is good publicity in my mind, so us talking about this really helps raise awareness for Bon Jovi in this album, and I think that's all a really good thing here. So the other thing is, you might be asking yourself, how can you get a hold of these 2 additional tracks that were dropped? And the cool thing is that, interestingly, when I went on Monday morning to check on the album, there was a deluxe edition on Apple Music. Now, when I went to go download it on Friday, October 2nd, there was only the standard edition, the same one that is the CD with these 10 tracks. There was no deluxe edition. I had done quite a bit of homework on this, trying to find out if these 2 extra tracks were going to get released anywhere. I couldn't find anything, so I'm a little surprised to have seen a deluxe edition pop up like this. But by Monday morning, it certainly did, and it had just sort of magically appeared. And there are now 3 bonus tracks on here, including the 2 songs that had been dropped, Love Can and Shine. And then the third one on here is Do What You Can, which is the country version with Jennifer Nettles singing as the duet. And there is a video for that, so really cool that that is now available, that you can get a hold of that. And so for me, I created a playlist and I rearranged the songs into that original album configuration so that I could hear what could have been if they had stuck to that, if a pandemic hadn't happened. And for those of you that don't like the overly political version of the current album, you can actually create this, drop the tracks that you don't like, and have an album that is more straight ahead, like a Bon Jovi album. And what would have been nice, though, is if Bon Jovi had actually released, I think, both versions of the album with that different running order, maybe a slightly different artwork on them, and or a deluxe package to get both of them. But I know people probably would have complained then that they were having to pay for the same thing twice, kind of a thing. But I really like hearing the different versions of this. I think it's really interesting to hear the 2 different formats. I do still think that the final version of the album, this standard edition here, I do think that that is the most powerful of the 2 albums, and it's the one I'm going to stick with and go back to time and time again, I think. But it's really cool to have heard the album as it could have been had there not been a pandemic and John hadn't had time to second guess himself. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, please remember to comment, like, and subscribe. This is 2020. It is an election year. It goes in theme with the Bon Jovi album, so please make sure you're registered to vote. Go out and vote. I don't care who you vote for. I just think you should go out and vote. Take the opportunity and the advantage that you have in a society where you can go out and vote. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, as I said, please leave your comments. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you all real soon.